Yeah, viewers and subscribers, so welcome back again. Like I promised you that I'm going to publish the entire video of what this Northerner made as an exposition. If you are in a hurry, don't watch it now. When you are free to sit down, watch it to the end. And as you're watching it, keep sharing it. Because this is the truth every Nigerian must know.
More than half of Nigerians are from the northern Nigeria. Northern Nigeria's population is about 130 million people, which is more than the population of some 25 countries. The combined population of 25 countries, which means northern Nigeria is more populous than some 25 countries in the world. Northern Nigeria contributes more than 70% of Nigeria's grains, millet, rice, maize, sorghum. More than 70% of Nigeria's grains are produced in northern Nigeria, which makes the northern Nigeria the agricultural hub for the country. And more than 90% of Nigeria's livestock are produced in the north, with vast stretches of arable land. Northern Nigeria covers more than 78% of the land mass of the country, which represents huge potential for commercial farming. Northern Nigeria has huge solid mineral deposits ranging from gold, limestone, uranium, tin, oil, gas, columbite, and so many other solid mineral resources. Unfortunately, this region, despite the vast potential, is still ravaged by poverty, with more than 60% of the people living in the north live below the poverty line. And this contributed to making Nigeria the 5th country in poverty count. More than 80% of the counted 20 million children out of school are from northern Nigeria. Northern Nigeria ravaged by insecurity. In just 1 year, from 2023 to 2024, more than 600 people were killed. If you remember the massacre, the killings in Rwanda, there were just 800,000 people. But in 1 year in Nigeria, more than 600,000 people were killed, most of them from northern Nigeria. More than 2 million people were kidnapped in just 1 year. Most of this happened in northern Nigeria. With trillions of naira being spent to tackle insecurity, insecurity still lingers in northern Nigeria, which rendered thousands of large-scale farmlands unproductive. Also putting the country at the risk of food insecurity. When it comes to maternal death, more than 60% of maternal deaths happen in northern Nigeria, which is one of the highest in the world. And close to half of children in northern Nigeria, they experience poor developmental growth, mental growth, and stunting due to malnutrition. And this also poses a threat for the future development. When it comes to birth rate, Nigeria is the 5th country in the world in terms of birth rate, and largely contributed by northern Nigeria, which has an average birth rate of 5 children per woman. In terms of child street begging, Nigeria is second after India, largely contributed by Northern Nigerian syndrome of child street begging. Sahara Desert is fast advancing at the speed of 600 meters per year, posing a threat to the livelihood of states like Sokoto, Borno, and Katsina states, which also affect the agricultural productivity of the northern Nigeria. Unemployment is on the rise. If you look at the count of states, the ranking of Nigerian states in terms of GDP contribution, the top 9 states, none of them is from the north. You talk about Lagos, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Imo states, Delta states, Anambra states, Ondo, Ogun, and Bayelsa. None of them is from northern Nigeria. The closest state that came to the top is Niger State, that came the 10th in terms of GDP contribution, which means majority of the GDP in Nigeria is not produced in northern Nigeria. What if northern Nigeria is a country? What is the GDP count of northern Nigeria? Most of the state governments heavily rely on the Federation Account Allocation Committee funds, which become their single lifeline. Reduce that, it affects their productivity and their development. And this represents huge challenge and risk to the development of the region. And because of the growing population, this little resources is overstretched and is becoming inadequate. With each set of generation, they are 1.5 times more than their preceding generation. If you look at the generation from 10 years below, they are 1.5 times more than the generation between the age of 20 and 10 years old in northern Nigeria, further stretching the need for more resources for development. Without it, the development of this ever-growing population is not guaranteed. With our agriculture being under-mechanized and access to finance is limited, especially due to our culture and our faith, which has been alluded earlier on, that due to interest rates, or rather interest, northern Nigerians are excluded financially. Financial exclusion is one of the major hindrances to even agricultural development, because as far as I am concerned too, interest is haram. And there is no justification for you to collect interest in the name of doing agriculture. So we should not be only limited to Jai's Bank when it comes to funding businesses. We should have banks like the Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, and all these development banks providing free interest grants or loans. Because we are people of religion. And if there is no religious inclusivity in our policies, in our system, in our agencies, then Nigeria, northern Nigeria, will always be left behind. Because Nigeria cannot develop without the north. The development of Nigeria is largely dependent on northern Nigeria. Develop the north, you develop the nation. And anything that affects it, affects the entire country. And there is an urgent need to rescue northern Nigeria, and to do that we need to start the journey of rapid development. And this journey, I believe, starts here today in this venue and with these people. Because it's not about our numbers, it's not about our conviction, it's about our passion, it's about our actions. And what I like about these agendas is that it encompasses all aspects of development. And it represents the need to have a unanimous development agenda in northern Nigeria. Development in northern Nigeria must be unanimous and must be concurrent. One state cannot be pushing for development and the other is not. We must unanimously agree on one course and together drive toward that. It's a single journey, it's a single destination, it's a single bus with passengers all in that one bus. And that's why I believe in these goals that is called Northern Nigeria Development Goals. Because they can serve as a uniting point for us to begin this journey of transforming the Northern Nigeria. Because I always want to believe we are the ones that Northern Nigeria have been waiting for. Northern Nigeria has been singing praises and appreciating people like Sardauna, but who are the next set of Sardaunas? You should tell yourself, you are the ones that the Northern Nigeria has been waiting for. Sometimes it's not about the leaders. It's not about the political leaders. It's not about election. It's not about changing leaders. It's not about having a Northerner as a president. But it's about the people of the region. You rise and be and represent yourself and take action to salvage all these problems we talk about. I'm not underemphasizing the importance of leadership, but political leadership is key to every development. But also the people of the region must do their part. And likewise, that's why I said today I'm very thrilled and happy that we are all united here under these 7 goals of inclusive economic growth, quality education, women and youth development, governance and security, health and social well-being, resilience to environmental challenges, and regional partnership and collaboration. Northern Nigeria will never grow without regional partnership among the states, moving on the single agenda, uniting and linking the economic chains of the region. That's the only way Northern Nigeria could grow. But all these development goals, they are also subjected to certain conditions. And I want to appreciate Dr. Murtala Adogi and his team for coming up with these very beautiful goals. Not only set the goals, but also set the success factors that must be achieved first before you achieve these goals. He also has come up with targets that we must achieve this target in the next 20 years. Because in the next 20 years, Northern Nigeria population will be 260 million people, more than the current population of the country. And then what's the plan for the future? The future will not easily come. We have to create it. And these goals represent the image, the map for the future. These conditions that we must have in Northern Nigeria, number 1 is security. No development. The foundation of every development is security. So it's our number 1 priority. Number 2 is our mindset. The Northern Nigeria must rise and stop thinking they are Northern Nigeria, or they are even Nigeria or Africa. They have to start thinking they are global, looking at the global trends, opportunities, and globalization, and fitting into the global world. You also have to change the mindset that dismiss any development potential in the country and say, oh, that kind of high level of development cannot happen in Nigeria. When we see countries that have developed, advanced, we say, oh, this development can only happen in those countries. It cannot happen in Nigeria. This mindset has stopped us from development because we don't believe development is possible in Northern Nigeria, not even in Nigeria. We have to change this mindset. People with this same mindset sometimes might be elected to political positions, and they act based on this mindset. Recently, I was studying a research, and I found out that there's not any region or country can progress without a seaport. And I was wondering, and I furthered my research. And I saw the reasons. And if Northern Nigeria has to develop, they must have a seaport. Everything you import from via the sea must land in Lagos. That's why Lagos is one of the most thriving states, sometimes richer than perhaps most part of northern Nigeria, and it becomes more expensive to even import things into northern Nigeria because we don't have access to seaports. Also, foreign direct investment. We've been talking about agriculture. Even the oil sector that we are proud of. Oil sector didn't become the oil sector today, if not because of the foreign direct investment. So also agriculture. Agriculture is not contributing significantly to the foreign exchange earning of the country. Why? Because we don't have foreign direct investment. So we need to have white people, foreigners, or even Africans coming into Nigeria and invest in agriculture, make it modern and mechanized. I know that we can still have the pride and say we can do it. Yes, we can do it. But on top of that, we need to attract investors to come and invest in agriculture. We also have to change the mindset of our rich people, our investors. I asked one of my staff to give me a count of how many filling stations do we have in Katsina town. And he couldn't finish counting. I'm sure, Mustafa, you can help me with some data if you have. Because we have thousands of filling stations in one town, but we don't have factories. We don't have even simple processing plants. Everyone that gets money will either go and do bureau de change, keep the dollar, wait for the dollar to appreciate, sell the dollar and become richer. No adding value. Or you open filling station to collect the petrol and go and sell it in Niger Republic. What value have you added? Our people with the money, they have to change their mindset. I was driving Professor Lumumba when I brought him to Katsina. We are driving from Kano to Katsina. And he saw all the trees, all the mangoes. He said, do you have the mango processing plants? I was embarrassed. And I said, no. With all the mangoes in Katsina town, I don't know if there's any mango processing juice or plant in northern Nigeria, in Katsina. So we have the money, but our people with the money, they are investing it in easy investment. So we must invest in productivity, in manufacturing sector, in processing agricultural produce. What we produce is the raw, and then we sell the raw. Even the animal skin, we sell it raw. We don't process it. How many animals do you slaughter in a town in northern Nigeria? Daily. The people that are doing balangu and sire and all these meat sellers, how many animals are they killing every day? Those skins are valuable resources that we can process and export to other countries. So you have to change the mindset of people with the money, the rich people, to have the right investment. Sometimes government has to come in to support people with the right ideas to invest. Sometimes it's not about the money, but the idea. And as lofty as these ideas are, all these goals are, I also want to align with the first presenter that say it comes down to money. And Murtala, I want to also challenge us here that yes, we are waiting for government to also fund development of this, achievement of these goals. But we also have to do our part. And I was doing a simple calculations last night. And I said, what if in each of these 19 northern states, we get at least 500,000 people who will contribute 20,000 Naira every month for 12 months in 19 northern states, 500,000 people. How much money can we gather? It's more than 2 trillion Naira. In 1 year, we can contribute at least 2.2 trillion Naira and invest this money on goal number 1 only. Next year, the next 2.2 trillion Naira will be invested in second goal. And then in the next 7 years, you realize that each goal have been invested or injected with 2.2 trillion Naira by people, not by government. If government decide to do that to support, to augment this, then that's fine. So we need to have what you call the Northern Nigeria Development Trust Fund, where people that are rich, that they can contribute money, can always throw their checks, their money there. I know I can, I'm just not to brag, I can conveniently contribute 20,000 Naira every day. I mean, sorry, not every day, every month. Maybe Adogi or Mustafa could do that. But every month, because I know I can sit down in a restaurant and spend close to that amount in one sitting. And if I can sacrifice this food, this kind of extravagant spending, and contribute 20,000 to this trust fund, we can make a progress. And there are thousands of people like me who can conveniently do that. And some people who can contribute 100,000 conveniently every month. But we are not giving them the platform, the opportunity to even contribute. So we need contributory funds to fund these development goals. We don't have to wait for government. Government cannot fix all the problems. But we as people, we have to demonstrate what we can. And that's why I also say, out of all the problems we have in Nigeria, ranging from insecurity, poverty, educational crisis, health crisis, unemployment, environmental challenges, weak governance or corruptions, we cannot solve all these problems at once. Like the Pareto principle that says, 80% of your problems are caused by only 20% of the causes. So we don't have to solve all problems, but identify the major causes and fix them. When I was doing Pareto Principles class, I asked my student to give me the major problem of Nigeria. They said poverty. And I said, what caused poverty? They said bad governance and corruption. And I said, what caused bad governance and corruption? And we arrived at selfishness. As simple as it sounds. Because if you are not living for other people, if you're not willing to sacrifice yourself for other people, cost yourself for other people's winning, then you are not a leader. But people are getting into position because of what they think they can get, not what they can offer to people. I recently introduced the principle of savor, which is living for other people, living to serve other people. We lack this mindset. That's why we have corruption. Corruption leads to poverty. Poverty leads to insecurity. And becomes a vicious cycle. So we need to identify what is the leading problem. What is the first domino effect of all these problems? And we also have to begin from the leadership recruitment process. Because we cannot isolate political leadership in all these problems we are talking about. And in responsibility to fixing them. That is why as long as there is monetary attraction to political position, we will continue to have weak governance and bad leadership. Because people, they want to get to political position not because they want to serve, but because they want to get the money. Even the late comedian Ibro, when he was afflicted with poverty, he told his wife he wants to contest election because he's poor. So if you want to become richer, the only thing that you start thinking of is how do I contest the election? Why? Because that's where you get the money. People that have money, they will not think of investing that money. They will save their money and wait for the election period to come just for them to spend to win an election. As long as there is money in political positions, there will never be good governance. The way we want it. We also need to change our mindset, how we look at leaders. A lot of people think the most successful person in your area or in your state is the one with the highest political position. The highest level of success is political position. If people want to reward you, they say, hey, please come out for election, we will vote for you. And if people want to punish you, they say, we will not vote for him. The best way to reward me is say, I should come out and contest an election, because that you think that's the biggest favor you give to me. That's the wrong way of thinking. But I could see the reasoning only if it is attracted to serve. But even if you're coming to serve, you'll be blocked by people who are there for the money. And they have the money, and they will make sure they use that money to stop you from getting there. So we have to change our mindset, how we look at elections. And politics is expensive. Even the competent ones, they can't afford to contest an election. They will say, okay, you are not too young to run, but you are too poor to run. So make it easy and cheaper and within the stretch to contest election. And I always believe that if we have to have development, we have to bring resources and power closer to people. Because when you are leading complex and large society or company or setting, the efficiency of that management will be less. But when you are managing a micro, small setting, it becomes easier. That's why I say states that have their oil, let them keep their oil. If you have gold, keep your gold. Any natural resource you have in your state, keep it. You are responsible for developing all the natural resources, natural deposit in your state. But you take responsibility for everything that happens in your state. Education, security, healthcare, all this development, you do it. To whom much is given, much is expected. Give the state the powers. Allow them to extract the mineral resources. If you have oil, keep your oil. We don't want your oil money. In northern Nigeria, we have agriculture. We have all these solid minerals I mentioned. Because it becomes easy for northern governors to sit back and point the fingers of blame at the federal government and say, it's the federal government. And complexity of Nigeria is too much that federal government cannot fix all our problems, because most of our problems are peculiar to state and even region. So we must devolve power to states and allow resources closer to people. That's when reach becomes spread. And we have to also consider what I call population management. We must grow according to the size of our resources. If responsibility and liability is greater than your finances, you cannot grow. You become stretched. So at micro level, the country has to grow based on its resources. At micro level, in your family, in your house, you must grow according to the size of your resources. You have 10,000 naira in a month, and you're giving birth to 10, 20 children, you are not growing according to the size of your income. So family size must grow according to the size of resources. So that, because family have to take care of the family, the children first, before the government do their part. Because population is not an automatic resource. It's just a potential resource. You have to harness it. One of my friends said, oh, what about China? China, they have population. And I said, China didn't become what they are just by adding population. They added valuable population. You are not going to add a population that is a liability and expect the economy to grow. But when you are adding skillful population, that is when the economy will grow as a result of such addition. So the question is, what kind of population are we adding? Are we preparing the population to become valuable to the economy? Look at the issue of the children begging on the streets. This is not acceptable. If you have to develop in northern Nigeria, we must stop this madness. Because there is no way you can give birth to a child of 4 years old and you throw him on the street and say, go and beg for money, for food. This is inhuman. Instead of sending your child to beg on the street, you come out and beg on the street. Parents should come out on the street and beg for food and then take the food to their children at home. But children must be kept at home. Because when you send children on the street begging for food, because of the stress, the exposure, the hazards, they will not even have the mental stability and growth to even absorb or grasp the knowledge. Because first in the morning they hunt for breakfast. Afternoon they hunt for lunch. Even in the lunch they hunt for, they become like birds. They become like animals. And these are the future that we are talking about. And this is not Islamic to send children under the age of 10 asking them to go and beg for food. You have to provide for them. There is no any city in northern Nigeria that does not have school where these children can be put in where they are and learn there. I was studying Bangladesh and I saw they had similar stories like ours, like the northern Nigeria. But what they have done was they built agro-processing industry, agric. They process and add value to whatever they produce from the agricultural sector. They also invested so much in manufacturing sector. They also invested in education. That's why I appreciate the Kano State for making education #1 priority. Because with education, we can develop. They also invested in small and medium enterprises, especially for women. Because half of our population are women, and if women are lacking, are left behind, then you are retarding half of your population. They are becoming dependent. They also invested in population management. They manage and control their population growth. They also invested in dialogue to ensure peace and security. Through dialogue and discussions, justice and equitable development. I've looked at Singapore. I looked at Rwanda. I looked at Morocco, Dubai. All these stories, they are stories of possibilities. If you look at where they came from, it was from a position of impossibility. But sometimes someone, a leader, came up from one of these countries and said, it is possible. And they made it. And all these countries, they came from different regions around the world. And there is no any limitation to say because we are Africa or because we are Nigeria, we cannot develop. So there is no excuse. If they have done it, we can do it. Look at what happened in Rwanda. I was in Rwanda last month, and I asked one of them, I say, what if you become the president of Rwanda? Will you like it? They say, no, we don't want. No, any Rwandese want to be president. They all want Paul Kagame to be president. And I say, why? Even if you are to be made the president, say, no, even me, I don't want to be president. I only want Kagame. And I say, why? He say, look around. Is it not what brought you to Rwanda? Why do you want to change it? So if you have one good leader, good leadership that is prolonged, is one of the simplest and easy way to development. What people want is not continuous change of leaders or continuous election. We become election year. Every 4 years election. Every 4 years election. Election and election. Why is the development? If election is a recipe for development, we'll have been the most developed countries in the world. How many times we have election? Rwanda, they have one leader. Morocco, they have one leader. Singapore, one leader. Dubai, one leader. With vision. Once you are lucky to have one good leader with vision, keep him there. You are not worth based on how much position you have. Leadership is not for everyone. Don't count your worthiness or your success based on leadership position you hold. We have to stop thinking about leadership. Everyone must participate in politics. No. Purpose of politics is development, is service. If you find someone who is willing to sacrifice his or her life for that, that's fine. Let him keep doing it. If you want to make money, go and invest. Make yourself valuable. So I want these development goals to be our uniting points. That whoever is coming as a leader, or any kind of reform that is coming in northern Nigeria, we evaluate, we judge that leader or that reform based on how these leaders or reforms are helping us to grow or achieve these goals. If President Tinubu is bringing the tax reform, we look at the tax reform bill or their bill within the perspective or the lens of these goals. Is this tax reform helping us in achieving these northern Nigeria development goals? Yes or no? We decide whether to support it or not. If someone is coming in contesting the election, we judge this person based on his ability to help us achieve these goals. So a leader is not coming to give us his goals. We all have our goals. These are our goals. You either support us in achieving these goals and we elect you, or you don't want to support us in achieving these goals, then you walk away. Because it's a journey. We are on a journey. You cannot come as a driver and distract us from our destination. If you want to be a driver, you have to drive us along our course. So this is our course, irrespective of who becomes the leader. And I want Murtala, I want you to take this, promote this goal. Let's make it people's goals. Because everything we aspire are all consolidated in these 7 beautiful goals. Let's young people sign up, subscribe. Political leaders, political parties, candidates, let them subscribe and say, I also endorse these goals. Because these goals are ours. We have to understand them. We have to love them. We have to embrace them. And I want to thank Mursala Adogi and his team for putting up these beautiful agendas or goals and putting up this beautiful event. We continue to support you. I felt very passionate, and I take it personally, that this is our mission. This is our fight. Beyond politics, because if you are working for opposition, you do it. If you can't do it without opposition, you can't do it with position. So this is a passion for. I've never been hopeful. I'm passionate about development. As I am today, when I see these beautiful goals. And I want to ask all of you to rally behind these goals. We don't look at faces. We look at the results. We look at who brings it. We've seen young people calling for to hear this, to hear that, position this kind, that. No. Think about the vision. Think about what you want. And whoever comes is just to help you get there. Thank you so much.
And that is it. If you've watched this far, congratulations for hearing this truth. The next thing you got to do is to share it to everyone. Every Nigerian must hear this, not just the Northerners. What's your take? Let's have it on the comment section. I'm Asuchinot Peters, the advocate for good governance. Bye-bye for now. GGN, uniting the people for good governance.